Among the youth of South Africa. The Minister of Social Development, Lindiwe Zulu, will be, as part of commemorating International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking, also known as World Drug Day, will lead a virtual drug abuse and cannabis dialogue. It has started. Let's take you there now live.
Substances are concerned, the outcomes and impact of our collective efforts should be evident in the ultimate emergence of positive changes in societal psyche, attitudes, predisposition and behavior of families, communities and society. Not only should our people, public, private, civic, academic, multilateral partnership be indispensable to our strategies, the sustainability of our efforts should be measurable in the lives of the people that we are serving. I now declare the national debate on alcohol and cannabis open, and I'm hoping that the participants and panelists will have fruitful and beneficial deliberations. I truly hope that the audience who are participating through the multiple virtual platform, especially the young people, will be thoroughly engaged throughout these exchanges. I thank you. I'll keep coming back and going to the other meeting, because the other meeting also on COVID-19 is very important for us at this point in time. I thank you very much, Program Director, and everybody is welcome.
Thank you so much, Minister. Oh my goodness, what a way to officially open. We wish to see a better South Africa. We wish to see a better South African. Thank you so much, Minister, for those powerful words. Minister has really laid the foundation for our conversation today. And I think it's no coincidence that this day is taking place during the month of June, where in South Africa, we are commemorating the spirit of young people and their activism and resilience. So the baton has been handed down to all the young people. The Minister was very clear that without the young people being in the forefront and without the non-profit organizations being a springboard for action to combat the abuse of alcohol and cannabis, nothing can happen. The request was very clear from the Minister that without you, we as government cannot operate. So the baton is over to you, young South Africans, and we have been welcome and really look forward to the conversation. Joining us now from the UNODC, we have Ms. Jules Akisheva. And Ms. Akisheva, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Thank you so much for being part of this very important conversation and this very important commemoration, not only in South Africa, but internationally. Ms. Akisheva, please paint the picture that your office has on the state of alcohol and cannabis abuse in South Africa, and perhaps touch a bit on the position of the UNODC, as well as some of the programs that you are implementing in the Republic of South Africa.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are very audible. Oh, welcome.
Very good. Thank you very much for organizing this event, and let me also start by salutation. Honorable Minister of Social Development, Ms. Lindiwe Zulu, distinguished panelists, I see representatives of the youth organization, and it is specifically important today to commemorate together the International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking, which is annually commemorated on 26th of June. On this day, we are very pleased to support the Department of Social Development in highlighting the importance of the evidence-based drug policy as a prerequisite for ensuring health and well-being. And as mentioned, I am particularly grateful to see so many young people, representative of youth, to attend the dialogue today, because the World Drug Report that was released yesterday, the World Drug Report of 2021, actually shows that the number of people using drugs worldwide increased by 22% over the last 10 years, owing in part to global population growth. Based on demographic changes alone, current projections suggest an 11% rise in the number of people who use drugs globally by 2030, and a marked increase of 40% in Africa alone due to its rapidly growing and young population. That is why it is extremely, extremely important to work with the youth, to work with the young people, to share the facts about the drugs, to share information, scientifically proven information on the harmful effects of drugs. That is why the theme of the 2021 International Day is Share Facts on Drugs, Save Lives. Indeed, the 2021 World Drug Report notes that in the last 24 years, cannabis potency had increased by as much as 4 times in many parts of the world. This has happened worldwide, but also the World Drug Reports highlight that at the same time, there is a growing percentage of adolescents who perceive that drugs as harmful fell by as much as 40%. In other words, is while the cannabis potency is becoming stronger, the overall perception about the harmful effect of cannabis is going down, which leads to the increase in the abuse of cannabis worldwide. This has happened despite the evidence that cannabis use is associated with a variety of health and other harms, especially among regular long-term users. Lower perception of drug use has been linked to higher rates of drug use, and the findings of the UNODC 2021 World Drug Report highlight the need to close the gap between perception and reality, and to educate young people and safeguard public health. It's interestingly enough that to compare to the previous World Drug Day, we are living now in a different environment. We were all affected by COVID-19 pandemic, as Minister said, that it's really getting even harsher than ever before. However, one of the facts highlighted by the World Drug Report is that most countries have reported a rise in the use of cannabis during the pandemic. In surveys of health professionals across 77 countries, 42% asserted that cannabis use had increased. A rise in the non-medical use of pharmaceutical drugs has also been observed in the same period. The COVID pandemic has shown us the vital role of trustworthy scientific information and the power of community in influencing health choices. We must urgently leverage this potential to address the world drug problem, the problem that affects not only South Africa, not only the African continent, but the overall world. Many countries during this COVID-19 pandemic introduced a new innovative measures to deal with this problem. And we would like also to share with South Africa what can be also done to support youth or to support the drug users. Many countries have introduced or expanded telemedicine services due to the pandemic. which for drug users means that healthcare workers can now offer counseling or initial assessments over the telephone or online, or use electronic system to prescribe controlled substances. Many of the risk factors associated with crime and violent behavior are also drivers of drug use. And targeted efforts focuses on these overlapping dynamics, including the childhood maltreatment and lack of social support, can help to strengthen the prevention efforts. Research suggests that law enforcement needs to go after the criminals at the upper levels of the drug trafficking chain instead of the people who are using drugs. So I would like to conclude by wishing a very fruitful and constructive debate today. Let's make verified information our ally as we address the world drug challenges and advance toward a vision of health for all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Akisheva. Maybe before you go, you have mentioned the fact that cannabis use has increased the highest during the COVID-19 period. You are the UNODC representative for the Southern African region. Can you perhaps let us know what are some of the trends that you as UNODC in Southern Africa have picked up specifically to the Republic of South Africa amongst the drug usage between young people?
Thank you very much for your question. We have not really had a very thorough assessment of what are the specific issues to South Africa, but I can tell you that the dynamics and the trends are quite universal, and what we currently see is increase in the drug use worldwide. And I'm pretty sure that there is an increase of the drug use in South Africa as well, as reported by mass media. The increase in criminal activities worldwide is the increase of the violence, and that is, of course, of very serious concern to the United Nations in general. What we also see is this trend, which allegedly increased in the drug use during the pandemic, is combined with the insufficient services for the drug users, because the drug use is a medical problem, is a health problem. It requires both prevention and treatment measures by the government. And sometimes we also see that during this COVID-19 pandemic, the government became completely overwhelmed with the scale of the pandemic, right? Like many other governments in the world. So sometimes the solutions to offer a very effective, very time-bound, immediate prevention and treatment measures still need to be developed. So that is the very general observation about that. But we as the United Nations stand ready to work with the government in order to support the efforts together with the civil society organizations that are evidence-based, that are targeting and focusing on evidence-based and proven effective measures to address prevention and treatment.
Thank you so much for that reflection. And as you speak of evidence-based, it's an honor for us to really have a lot of young people participating in this program so that they are able to speak for themselves and give us as government and yourselves as international organization at UN level to be able to align here and really get the evidence from the service users themselves and the experiences of young people as well as the issues on the ground. Thank you so much. We really request that you will stay for the rest of the program as we begin to engage with young people directly. I'm going to hand over this part of the program to Mr. Benjamin Zanzi so that we can begin to talk to the young people and hear the voices. Over to you, Mr. Zanzi.
Well, thank you very much, Zee, and thank you very much to the minister, and we appreciate this information. So, while South Africans are using the same types of drugs as the rest of the world, the following drugs are deemed to be more popular in the country. So, first, alcohol. This one is most widely used as a psychoactive substance in the country. In South Africa, about 58% of deaths on South African roads can be attributed to alcohol consumption. Cannabis is by far the most used illicit drug on the South African streets, specifically among young people. Nyaupe or wunga, which is a mixture of heroin and cannabis, as well as stick use, have gained popularity amongst adolescents, with far-reaching effects on users, families, and communities. Zizile, would you like to come? Okay, so we take this part. This is the part now where we take it to the young people. So while some cannabis users might doubt, they might dub this use for meditation and recreational purposes. One cannot ignore the fact that marijuana is a gateway to most addictions. So there are very few South Africans that can attest to not knowing a family, a friend, community member, or a community member with severe addiction to alcohol or cannabis. So we take this part now. We take this part now to the young people. Yes, we will take this part now to this part of the conversation to the young people, so as to hear directly from them as to how their lives have been impacted by alcohol and cannabis. So at this stage, let me bring in Keurapetse Molefe. Keurapetse is from Gauteng province. Keurapetse, please share with us and with the rest of South Africa how substance abuse and drug abuse has affected you, your family, and your community.
Good day. Hello. Hi. Yes. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. As I was introduced, I'm Keurapetse Molefe from the south of Johannesburg. So as you guys mentioned, that alcohol and cannabis are the most commonly used, misused, and abused drugs amongst the youth for many reasons, right? But however, talking about cannabis, right? Cannabis being the most abused or used or misused drug among the youth. As a substance abuse coach from Sanka Central Rand, I do engage with young people and the youth. I might not have come from a background whereby alcohol consumption or cannabis use has an effect on me, but I've seen how it affects friends and learners at school or varsities, because I do engage with them on a day-to-day basis. So one of the myths I can say around cannabis youth is that it's just harmless and it's just a herb, right? And it becomes more appealing than tobacco and other illicit drugs. Therefore, it becomes more socially acceptable and nobody judges me, everybody does it, so why not do it? It feels good, it seems right, let's do this. However, what the youth does not understand, and this is what I always tell people, or rather individuals that are abusing alcohol and cannabis, is that it does have some psychological and physical effects that later on could lead to environmental and social issues, and one of these effects, talking about cannabis, is the feeling of euphoria, that feeling of extreme excitement, sense of well-being, and then we have, it also risks psychoactive, toxic psychotic, it increases the risk of toxic psychotic. So toxic psychotic is like a mental disorder that is triggered by substance abuse, whereby an individual experiences thoughts and emotions that are so impaired or damaged to the point that they lose contact with reality. So this is where the paranoia and hallucination comes in, and obviously because they like the feeling of euphoria, they keep on going back to the drug. And then we also have the long-term effects could be apathy, where someone loses interest, concern, or enthusiasm in the activities that they used to like, such as playing sports or enjoying reading, because now the drug has taken over, However, I believe that when we deal with issues such as substance abuse or substance use disorder, it is extremely important that we also look at the risk factors and protective factors. So risk factors being, what are those factors that make individuals vulnerable to beginning or starting to use and abuse substances, right? And then what are the protective factors that we can enhance to eliminate or decrease the usage of substance abuse, right? So getting into the risk factors, which are the reasons or what causes an individual to be vulnerable, especially amongst the youth. And because I am representing the youth, I'll speak from their perspective. There's intrapersonal factors, there's interpersonal, and there's environmental factors. Intrapersonal factors can be mental health issues. I'm an individual that struggles with depression. I know the overwhelming feelings. It's just a choice that I made, but also from having a family that is supportive to my journey, I am able to cope with it. But there are other individuals that are dealing with depression or anxiety or bipolar that are isolated and they don't know how to deal with this, and that makes them vulnerable to using and abusing substances, And then we have our interpersonal, which can be peer pressure. As I said in the beginning, that substance abuse or cannabis is socially acceptable. So because everybody's doing it, it seems right, it feels right, I'm going to do it. And then there's family factors whereby if a child, adolescent or youth comes from a background whereby substance abuse is normal, chances of them using and abusing substances is high. As much as substance abuse is complex, it's just a general statement. And then we can also say someone that comes from a very abusive background, gender-based violence, which is extremely high, that can lead an individual to using and abusing substances. And then we have our environmental factors, which is the social stresses, low income, poverty, low educational attainment, the fees must fall protest, we have the high unemployment rate. So all those things contribute to the reason as to why the youth are being vulnerable to using and abusing substances. So in such cases, then we need to look at the protective factors as how to decrease the youth from being extremely vulnerable to using and abusing substances. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Kurapezi. Can maybe let's give Nosbele a chance to also add if there's something that you'd like to add.
Thank you very much for giving us the platform as the youth. One thing that I think the youth needs to understand, they need to know what is substance abuse, because I come from a community that does not know that this is substance abuse. Now what you are doing, it's wrong. Now you're overusing this. So I feel like these are the platforms that we need to create for us young people so that we can have like a chance to express ourselves and also to learn. So now, coming from a youth perspective, so we've got the social ills, that is your unemployment, your crime, rape, violence, crime neglection, Now, if you look at it from the unemployment perspective, this is a young person who just got fired from work because the person was like always absent at work or maybe coming late, because of substances. As Kiwo has already explained that substances have got like a psychological impact on the body as well. So now we also need to look at now the physical aspects of the substances as well. That will be like your body, So now, talking on behalf of the youth, I think it's very important for us, the youth, to understand how does addiction comes in and what is substance abuse on its own, so that we can be able to fight these social ills together.
Wow, thank you very much. Maybe let's give some of the young people that are in the provinces that are joining us virtually an opportunity to also maybe say a word or two, whether it's about their personal experiences or maybe the work that they do around drug abuse awarenesses and substance abuse. We'll start in the Eastern Cape. Lebogang Sizani, welcome. Would you like to say a few words perhaps to to South Africa. Lebogang.
Morning to everyone. You're speaking to Lebogang Sizani. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, very much. Thank you. Siyagova, Quebec.
Okay. Drug abuse is a very dangerous thing. I, for once, have used drugs before, and it almost took my whole future away. So I'm nervous, man. Okay. Drugs can be very dangerous to your life. They can take away your future. They can destroy your dreams. And I've experienced a lot of bad things according to drugs. But another thing that makes people end up using drugs is the situations at home. Maybe I, for once, I don't have a father, and my mother passed away at a very young age. So I used that as an excuse to go to drugs, but I believe that it was my choice to use drugs. And some other people get, there's also peer pressure that leads them to using drugs. So friends are very bad influence. Friends are very bad influence because you might not want to smoke or use drugs, but because that you want to fit in a certain group, you might end up doing something that you don't want to do. So that's one of the reasons that young people like us end up using drugs. And if someone here said something about the state of euphoria, when you smoke drugs, let's say you start with marijuana, you might smoke it, but then at a certain stage, you won't like the certain way you feel. So you want to get high in a different way. That leads you to start smoking something else. And as you go, you start increasing and smoking different drugs. Because, for example, I started smoking Docker pipe. And then I didn't like the feeling, so I went to go smoke weed. I didn't like the feeling, and then I smoked tick. And then my life completely changed, and it almost destroyed my future. I was a dropout, but now I'm a schooler again. So I'd like to encourage everyone out there that smokes drugs to just rethink and focus on your life. Thank you.
Thank you, Lebogang. Lebogang, what would you say helped you to realize that drug use and drug abuse was actually destroying your future, and what actually helped you to take the decision to pull back and to actually go back to school and to quit the abuse of drugs?
I started smoking drugs, and then I wasn't participating that much to schoolwork, because every time, even if when I was in class, I wanted to be out there with the friends in the community and not being in class. And another thing is that when you're in class and you're high or you smoked, your concentration is not there. You're thinking of that place because you want to be at that state of euphoria where you feel good and happy, and you don't want to be with these people that are not in the same level with you.
Okay, thank you very much, Lebogang Sizani from the Eastern Cape. Next up, we have Danielle Mataleta from the Free State. Danielle, over to you. Maybe you can share with us your experiences, your journey, maybe as to whether you have been a drug abuser or how it has affected you, your community, and your life. Danielle.
Ke dumedisa batho bohle ka ho qolla ke dumedisa Melanie Zulu. Nna ke motho a hotseng ke hola hantle, empa hwa ka hola wa fihla mane mo ke tshwarang lemo tse 15 in 2001 ka ke tla wala taxing, ene ka kwetsi taxing ka taba nka baka la peer pressure. Why and dungape in India Jarasing, in the Wema Bagalapi, a Katawagaman galloping a Kinnick Billan hole, and a Kisa breaking Malalamu, Kabilalabanga, the Kulan hole. Why, sorry, why Kawakata school, after Mugutan school, 2003. Kita sa pasabui katela school. Yawa kadula ka mutuan ka drum sweet. Kasveta difeme mo. Kine kasveta difeme ki kasveta giti. Nente ki kasveta difati kina jwala. Ene difati wala kindezelo kanga ho. Ene kine kisivisa ho. Kilaka bela katwa ka rentmate ka letting kinde kisivisa difati. Jwala le khoma fat. Kilaka twa hape ka tamo ka mpumalanga ka sivisa ka sivisa ndike sivisa ntuti ka twa mpumalanga ka Pretoria mo kilomelantin Pretoria kalonsa 2014 mo think ka kilmala ki tsetse kului ene ki tsetse kului ilo ki ta vele ki sivisa la ho ke klaba ke tuliti kilini maulcheva ke maulchechi kilini maulchechi nutina ke bakala la gagal la jwala ka bon la jwala di difat ke bakala tsona kilini maulchechi na ene ke phela ba ko bona ibile isintile phela ba ka go lutsi ya gore e be kitina ka ne dintsena ntse ke diklante magabele phela ke bona botshintsi ya leboa.
Rilebogile haholo abuti, and here we are really getting testimony of how alcohol can be dangerous to the lives of young people. In summary, the story is really a reflection, Yabut Daniel, on how he has started using alcohol from a casual point of view, and it went deeper with more use and often use deep to addiction, where that saw him in 2001 really becoming addicted to alcohol, and in 2003 even dropping out of school. Even after receiving employment, he really got into a very bad accident in the year 2014 because he was under the influence of drugs. Maybe before crossing over to the next person, Abut Daniel, re kopa o botsisa gore o hodile byang go tlogela byala and then o thome pilo ya hao ga bosha.
Hore tloela ka morana ko tsena gore e be ke hore ke dutse accident na le mane ke lahla ka jetsa mane ga ipana ke bang go tla ho lo tsela jala di ditefati hore ke kono o wa ke mana ke sa gona tsa ditho di check mana ke tla me ka le banta o je ke gona lula street fela ke ikutlwa ke hantle ke ene nka go tletsa batjha haholo gore ditefati la loka wa o ska wa ithabitse ka wa khatla batho ka ditefati o ba phela ba go tsinga haholo. Thank you.
Brother Daniel has shared a very painful reflection on his life, and unfortunately his abuse for alcohol has ended up, has contributed towards him really ending up with a severe disability that was a wake-up call for himself and his community members. The message that he's sending to young people throughout the country is that you need to take responsibility of your life and your life now. It might seem as fun when you are having one drink, but it's the first drink that leads to the next. I'm going to hand back over to Benjamin to continue the conversation with young people.
Thank you, Sister Z. And thank you to Daniel for that reflection. Now we cross over to KwaZulu Natal. We have Mr. Brian Zigalala. Brian, would you like to share with us your story? Over to Daniel. Sorry, Brian Zigalala, sorry. Brian?
Bengicela ukunibingelela nonke njani?
Saphila.
Ngiyaphila. Igama nguBrian ngokwazikalala. Ngiqhamuka eMnambithi kodwa ngihlala eNewcastle. So mina sami story isibuhlungu kodwa sibuhlungu sinjalo kumele sidigeste. I started using drugs, it was 1998. I was still in standard 8 by then. Kwahamba isikhathi, I matriculated in 2000. Ngahamba ngaya e-tertiary of which angangikwazi ukuqeda, but I was lucky ukuthi umsebenzi ngawuthola ngasebenza e-Transnet. By then I was smoking ganja, marijuana, Mandrakes, and rock and heroin. So ngasebenza about 6 years at Transnet. 2011, umsebenzi wangiphelele Transnet. Sengimophela umsebenzi, and I was even going to get married by then. So kwaphela umsebenzi wahamba umfazi kanje ngiyamthatha into zami zonke zabuyela emuva and ngangena kakhulu kwi-heroin by then. And mina benginenkinga-ke ukuthi ibingihambisa kakhulu. One way ngicabanga ukuthi okay ngisemnambithi into ihamba kahle. The other day sengiphapha ngiseJoburg ngiyaphanta ngithi ngiyophatha ngokuhlanganisa. So mina bengiganga housebreaking, robbery, shoplifting, izinto ebengizenza lezo. Ne-car theft uma kwenzekile kodwa bekungayona into yami ngoba bengisaba. Okay, so ngifike eGoli, ngihlala eGoli, kube mnandi, sibheme, and I was introduced ngoma spiking, yonke lezo zinto lezo. And I ended up at Sunset. Oh, papa mese Sunset ngiboshiwe. Aw. Lapho sekudinga ukuthi umndeni wakho and I called my family phela ukuthi I was arrested. Okay, bangikhipha ngaphuma, ngabuya ngabuyela eMnambithi. Njengoba ngisho bengihluleka ukuhlala endaweni eyodwa. 1 minute angisekho sengihambile sengiyeThekwini. Ngimohlala uma ungaphakhi iphoyinti zonke lezo ndawo. Saqhubeka sabheka. Ngaganga, ngaphaphame Westfield. Ishe Westfield sengiboshiwe futhi. Ngagwetshwa. Cishe ngasho 18 months kodwa ngapha ngangizol 3 years. So ngisho 18 months ngaphuma, ngayithatha inombolo ukuthi ngayithatha basejele. Ngayenza nami. Up until impilo yami njena-ke manje-ke until last year. Khona umngani wami ngangifunda naye, ngangifunda eNewcastle High School. Umngani wami ngangifunda naye ngangimgcine in 1999. Waqhamuka last year, wazongilanda eMnambithi sesizwile ukuthi yini endlela engathi ngiyona. If I had pictures, ngizongikhombisa ukuthi how I look. But anyway, into yangenza ukuthi mina ngize ngiyeke-ke ngibone ukuthi no it's enough manje sekwanele. Kubuhlungu ukuthi umile esitolo mhlawumbe uyaphanda uphanda ngayo nangu umntana akaqhamuka kumele athi baba. Ngalo sikhathi leso ubaba akayena ubaba ngalesikhathi uyena into engabukeki. The word they using ukuthi uyiphara. So kube buhlungu futhi kumina vele usuke lo muntu akushaya ungenzanga lutho. Usuke iphoyisa likuvimbe likuseshe likuthathe likufake ejele just ukuthi wena you're in position of i-drug ngesikhathi leso. So kwahamba kwabuhlungu kumina even abasekhaya bengasangifuni bonke because i-heroin angiyazi njani unga ngathi yabathitha bonke labantu abakuthandayo abafuna impilo yakho ibe ngcono ivele bapush away from you. Then mina impilo yakho iqala phansi yonke. Yini ngiqhamuka umama noma umfowethu edlule ngimbingelela angavumi avela ayidlulele because ngezinto esengizenzile nami ekhaya. So ngabona ukuthi no man nanga umngane wami usefikile and uyangibuza yena Brian ngenze njani. Last year, but October, I was telling my friend, next day, birthday, I'm going to going each day. And it happened this birthday, I'm sharing birthday, I'm going 23 March. So, that's in Piloga Brian. So, what are you going to say? In Sweden, abanye begusho. Ekunin kodwa ichoice kumuntu, lento engayibona khona. Isinqumo sekumuntu, umuntu othatha isinqumo ukuthi into yakhe because ekuqaleni you can even call it peer pressure nani, but ekugcineni peer pressure, ekugcineni blame isingayishift isiloku peer pressure, i-blame ikuwena umuntu. Because wena kumele wenze ichoice ukuthi wena njengamanje uyayithatha le unga ufake emlonyeni nebhema. I-choice yakho akekho omunye uzokwenza i-choice leyo nto leyo. I-choice yakho futhi nokuthi njengamanje mina impilo yami ngifuna ukuyishintsha ubuyele emuva esimeni la kumele ngabe mina because nami ngithi ngiyabala manje kufanele ngabe nginguteni nomuzi nomfazi ngizakhe right but ngenxa yama-drugs yabuyela emuva azange size ngikwazi ukuya phambili so-ke nje ngiyabonga.
Okay, siyabulela Bud Brian. One more question, Bud Brian. I mean, you have shared quite an extensive experience there with your journey to where you are now, and congratulations for that matter on reaching the goal of birthday yakho ukuthi ifike uclean. That's quite a commendable thing. And then the message yakho to abantu abatsha ukuthi the choice is actually theirs. But my question to you, okanye mhlawumbi, question mhlawumbi is, ikhona yini into yenzayo for abantu abatsha, particularly lapho uhlala khona in your community, maybe to engage them, to help them towards their own journeys? Or is there something you have in mind, mhlawumbi, that you want to do in the future for them to help them with their own journeys?
Okay. Shuthi ukufika kwami e-rehab, I was in Matateni Rehabilitation Center. I saw ukuthi okay kahle inkinga because nami ngize ngifike e-rehab, I had no knowledge what was going on to a rehab, but no knowledge to rehab, do I have to pay or how do I go about getting into the rehab? So ngabona ukuthi no, abantu ngaphandle engihlala nabo, I know ukuthi ngihlalile nabo angithi, I know ukuthi bayafuna ukuyeka baningi bayafuna, but they don't know what to do. So ke ngakhuluma, there's a social worker uNtanda, there's a program we're running at the moment. We are going to them to give them the knowledge of what is happening into the rehab and how do you go about going into the rehab. So that is what I'm doing at the moment. But in future, we have to have aftercare, because if we are in rehab for that time, come with those 6 months or 3 months, and then afterward, what is happening? Ukurelapse nama-triggers zowathola ngaphandle uphinde ubuye. So what's kumele kube khona something that has to be done ngaleyo nto leyo. So ngabona ukuthi into engayenza ukuthi
off. Ngathi mic yakho off.
Okay, ngizwa manje.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Okay, ile nto ngibonile akukho right ukuthi umuntu asephuma rehab abuyele emuva into the community ngaleyo ndlela ayiyona, kungekho into ezolandelelwa kuyena ukuthi wenza kanjani. Akana skill mhlawumbe kwesinye isikhathi akana, ngoba abaningi bethi ba ama drop out. So akanayo into azobuyela emuva aphinde ayenze. So it's easy for lo muntu loyo ukuthi aphinde abuyele emuva. So I'm just trying to ukuthi ngilungise into kanjalo.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Zigalala. Siyabulela kakhulu. Now we cross over to Limpopo province, where we are speaking to Christopher Mantata. Over to you, Christopher.
Good day, everybody. How are you guys doing? I'd just like to say thank you to Lindiwe Zulu for this opportunity that she's given us here at Limpopo and Seshego Treatment Center. So while my journey in drugs and alcohol began with cannabis, it began in 2008. At the time, I was still doing grade 9. So I feel as if I pressured myself. I'm not going to blame it on peer pressure, so I'll blame it on myself. I pressured myself to go into drugs and alcohol due to the fact that I felt as if I never had a supportive background in terms of the relationship which I had with both my parents, my father and my mother. In terms of support, in terms of education and everything that I needed, yes, indeed, I did used to receive that. But my biggest issue was love. As a child or as the youth, we all need love. We all need the sensation of love. We need the guidance and the motivation of our parents. So you may fund a child, but it's necessary for you to fund a child with with responsibilities in life. I was not funded with responsibilities and understanding of how a child should be groomed in order to become who they were. So I began doing drugs in grade 9. I began my alcohol, and I already had a problem with my anger due to the situation at home with not having a relationship with my parents, which caused me to be a disobedient child towards my elders, towards my teachers, towards my surrounding and my community. So eventually it led me to not actually understand the responsibilities of society and the law as well. So I felt as if everything that I did was right, but not actually understanding that there's more to the world than what I think and what I want to see with my own eyes. So I was a very disruptive child. I got into altercations at school. I was also always sent to the principal's office. I was just a nuisance all the time. So eventually, as time went on, I grew older, but my habits never changed. My surrounding that I brought into my life were a bad surrounding. I always attracted people which loved me for what I have and what I could do for them, meaning that I was bringing drugs into their lives. They were bringing drugs into my life. So there was nothing actually positive which I was inviting to myself. I was just inviting negativity in every aspect. So eventually it led to a dysfunctional relationship with the people which were actually supporting me, as in my parents. So my parents wouldn't trust me due to the fact that now I would be selling things which my parents bought for me, like my PlayStation, my clothes, just to get that one fix, which eventually from drugs, it led to crystal meth whilst I was studying in Cape Town. From crystal meth, it led to Indanda. I think they called it, Nyaupe, in a sense. So from there, I came to a realization last year, 4 days before the national lockdown, that my life is not going anywhere and hasn't been going anywhere for the last 14 years. Unfortunately, this realization came by me losing my mother. I lost my mother 4 days before the national lockdown. So I feel as if I should tell the youth that without any structural goal within this life, guys, like there's no way forward for us. Could we possibly not seek support from our families only, but let's seek support from those around us? We don't necessarily have to be given the love from home, but there's love that I used to receive from teachers, from distant relatives and friends, which could have assisted me within my journey. But unfortunately, I lacked understanding at the time. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Christopher. And congratulations and all the best with your journey. Congratulations to what you've achieved so far, and all the best with what you are yet to encounter and conquer. Now shall we move to Mpumalanga? In Mpumalanga, we have Nothando Tambokulu. Over to you, Nothando.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I am really in love with the whole theme that says that share facts on drugs and save lives. Because as a child growing up from a what I'd like to call disadvantaged or unprivileged community, we are really exposed to misconceptions and myth about drugs and all of those things. That I came to a realization that alcohol is actually a drug a few years later, and by then I was already like too old to not be knowing that alcohol is actually a drug and drinking every day is actually drug abuse, and it's not okay, because these are the things that we actually get exposed to in our community, and we think that it's okay, it's normal just because everyone else is doing it. And also I like the fact that standing here talking to you guys, I'm actually representing all of my classmates and everyone from my community. And I would like to touch on how drug abuse, or specifically cannabis, have actually impacted the lives of young people, especially high schoolers. Well, a long-term effect of the usage of cannabis is actually learning disadvantages. You find that people can no longer concentrate, or people can no longer grasp information as they used to before. And this actually leads to their academical strength to deteriorate, which actually leads to them dropping out at the end of the day. And actually, when we have more learners dropping out, we'll have more unemployment rates, and this will actually put a strain in our economy. I feel like it is very vital for us to keep on spreading the word and teaching and touching young people's heart, teaching them that actually the truth about cannabis and all the other drugs. I like the theme that says that we should share facts and save lives, because that's really one of our goals as teenagers against drug abuse from SANCA.
Thank you very much, Notando. Notando speaks from the heart, because she speaks from a position of a person that comes from communities, and everyone knows very much how in township high schools particularly, how much rife cannabis is, especially if you go to the boys' toilet. That's one thing that you come across. Maybe let's quickly cross now to the northwest, Bokone Bophirima. In the northwest, we are hearing from Ushupile Katong. Ushupile Katong.
Hello, everyone.
Okay.
My name is Ushupile Katong. I've started smoking drugs on 2010, right immediately after a World Cup. The drug that I started to smoke is cannabis. I smoked it for a couple of months. Then I started to use higher drugs, which it was nyaupe. Nyaupe is like, for instance, is a high drug now, the high power drug that is, which is it is affecting young people's life. And on this drug, there is 3 types of stage that I want to share with us, guys. There is this, the first stage, it's heaven, where you find yourself smoking drug, but by then you get money from everyone. No, by that time, no one knows that you are using that same drug. Your parents, they don't even realize that you are using that drug. For you to buy that drug, you get money easily, which is where I call that stage a heaven, because by then most of people don't realize that you are using drugs. And the second stage is earth, where you get to be introduced on the life of the drugs, whereby you have to stand up and go and hustle for that, so that you can be able to feed your habit. By then you get to introduce to stealing, robbing, and all types of things that are not good. By then, you'll be meeting with friends that will lead you to do crimes, because by then a lot of people will be starting to realize that you are using drugs. Maybe the parents will start to realize that there's something changed about you at the school. They can see that the behavior is changed. You are no longer attending regularly. That is the second stage for me. It is earth. Then here comes the third stage, which is hell, whereby now everything that you tend to do, everyone knows you that you are a drug addict and you are a stealer. So whatever you are trying to do, it is putting you into the jail, or it is putting you into where people you can get hit, and you can become a dropout, because by then it will be hard for you to get the money like you used to get it before. Like by then everybody realized that you are a drug smoker. That is 3 stages that I wanted to share with. But me, after I was involved on drugs, I tend to think that it is fine. I can live with it without realizing that at the end, this thing is gonna backfire, because I realized it while it was already late that I cannot carry on with doing other things while I have to go and smoke drugs. I cannot cope at school. I cannot attend school regularly, because also I have to leave some of the school job and go to do to buy drugs, and after I'll come back to school, which is when I get to school, I found out that some of the people, they're already, I'm left behind, some of the people that are in front then, which is where I started to realize that with this life, I cannot, it is the best way if I try to look for a help. And for me to get a help, I got help last year around 6 May during lockdown. When I heard that there was a place called Mahikeng Treatment Center. Then I went to that place and go ask for info and ask for information about how do the place helping the youth. Then I got admitted there at Mahikeng Treatment Center, whereby we started to engage with different NGOs, whereby they were giving us some tools and tips about what to do about not to going back to the same way where we were living before. And some of the NGO came, then we shared, we engaged some different types of topics, like how we talked about different topics about things that can trigger you to go to things that can trigger you to use drugs, and tools that you can use for you to abstain, or for you to prevent relapse, or for you to not do drugs. Also, we did treat some of the topics like bullying, because we have realized that bullying, it was major thing. It was major tool that lead youth into using drug, because when you grow up and you are being bullied, that is where you find out that you don't have a control over that thing, and that people who are bullying, and the best way for you to overcome those people is to join them and be and join them and be the same as them. And some of the things is to join the people who are older than you, who are using drugs, such as smoking cigarette and weed.
Sure. Okay, thank you, Ushupile. Thank you for sharing with us your experiences and your journey. We also say to you, all the best with your journey ahead, and congratulations for the steps that you have taken. Those are very inspiring words. Now we move over to the Northern Cape. In the Northern Cape, we are speaking to Nomsa Njongwe. Over to you, Nomsa. Your mic is on mute, Nomsa. Yes.
Okay, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Well, thank you very much, sir. My name is Nomsa Njongwe from the Northern Cape. I'm a Gimoja coach here in the Northern Cape. Here in the Northern Cape, what we have realized is that the most used substance is alcohol in our community. The people in our community are using alcohol, and then they don't know that drinking alcohol each and every day, if you drink alcohol every day, you become addicted to it. They don't know what is addiction. And the other substance that they are using, it's cannabis. They don't know that cannabis is a gateway to other substances in our community, because most of the people that here in our province, they use cannabis, and cannabis is a gateway to other substances. Most of our youth here, they are unemployed. It's because they study drugs because of unemployment and divorces. That's the cause also of them using substances in the Northern Cape. And children are born with FAS because of people don't know that if you drink during pregnancy, the child also is drinking alcohol, and then that is the cause of the high rate of children born with FAS in our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nomsa. Thank you very much. Let's now move to the last young person participant in the province, my home, there in the Western Cape, Vaughn Moses. Over to you.
Hey everyone. Hi everyone.
Hello.
I'm Vaughn Moses. I live in Yasis River in the Western Cape. Not long ago, let's say 2016, my mom passed away. I started selling drugs. At first, it was fine because everyone was like, I was over you. A lot of support at that time. Afterwards, the feeling of selling didn't, how can I say, it wasn't important anymore to people. People just saw, oh, he's selling drugs, so let's just leave him. People started closing their doors for me. I was depressed. I was feeling alone. I had nowhere to go. I was all alone in the house. My mommy died. My sister was still in school. There was no financial income, so I had to smuggle. Afterwards, I started using it because I told myself only one hit wouldn't be so bad. Only one. I used one. Afterwards, I started using it only on weekends. I became attached to it. I even didn't want to live without it. I started smoking my own stuff I was selling. People looked at me different ways. Like, this boy is small. I wasn't no one. There was no support. My family didn't come out to reach me. So I was thinking to myself, no man, I don't need all these people. It's just me. And I started smoking. I was in the hospital. I lost our house. We lost our house. I had nowhere to go. I started smoking more and more and more. Afterwards, nobody even gave me attention. I had no food. I had no house to stay. I thought to myself, maybe this is how it should be. Because nobody see me. Everyone was like, you will never come right. It's always going to be like this. There's no future for him. You will never get a job. Not long after that, I met this aunt. Her name is Lavonia Lish. She told me she's the coordinator of the Youth Life Counts group in Elsies. Afterwards, I joined it. It made me feel welcome. I came to my senses. I was like, that time I was thinking, why should I stop? I had no reason to stop, so I should just go on. She made me feel welcome again, treated me like her own son. She made me feel comfortable, put me in my comfort zone. I joined the Youth Life Counts. I stopped with it. Last year I stopped smoking. And I'm so glad I stopped smoking because now I can see all the opportunities. So my thing, I just want to tell I'm still young, I just want to tell the youth, sometimes when you feel alone, you should reach out to people so they can know. Because most of the time, I got suicidal. I got a lot of thoughts at that time. I don't have a reason to be in this life. Why am I still here? Why did I take my mommy away and no one needed her the most? But I came to my senses. I told myself, this isn't me. I went off the friends because that time socially, everyone was using it, so there was no problem with using it. But people, they was neglecting me, so I thought to myself, no man, this isn't me. I never used this before. Which path am I going? If my mom would still been alive, I wouldn't have done this, so why am I doing this? I had never good enough reason to do it. So I told myself, if I can't stop it, then nobody's gonna stop it. And there was a lot of examples in our community. There still is. So when I stopped smoking, people told me, man, why you stopped? You going after people. And I told myself, I don't need people. I started to move in with the Youth Life coordinator. She made me feel welcome again. So I didn't have a reason. I didn't have a reason to smoke. I joined the Youth Life Counts team. And all I want to say is to youngsters, don't give up hope. Chase your dream. Because me at the moment also, I'm chasing my dream, even if it means going back to school. I'm chasing my dream. So, guys, don't start from you, man. Nobody can tell you who you. Only you determine who you. Nobody else can. So, thank you.
Yes. Thank you very much, Vaughn. Thank you very much, Vaughn, and thank you very much to all the young people throughout the country, starting with the two beautiful ladies on my left who have joined us here, and every young person that has joined us virtually from each and every province. One thing that I'm taking away from all of this is that everyone here agrees that from using drugs to quitting and recovering, and the whole journey is all up to the individual, that is yourself. And I just wish and hope that every young person has at least picked that up, that through all of the journeys that we have heard here and through everyone that has spoken to us here, that the the journey really is about yourself. So thank you very much for sharing your personal reflection on drug abuse, and obviously to the young people that work with or helping other young people with their journeys from drug abuse. Thank you very much. I'm going to hand over back to Sister Z. My name is Benjamin Zanzi, and I'm your podium master.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Benjamin Zanzi, and the virtual panelists. What a very hectic and detailed conversation and testimonies that we have heard live from young people. I think the biggest eye-opener has been the testimony from the Northwest, where the young man has defined his journey into 3 phases, one being heaven, which was really the paradise phase and access to drugs and really doing it undercover, and the second one then being earth, where the introduction to really that you must get up and begin to hustle for yourself, and a bit of exposure from community members. And lastly, hell. He describes this last part as hell, where the hustle is so bad that he ends up getting into a crime so that he may feed the addiction, but also every action from himself has been put on the spotlight by community members and total exclusion from society. This has been really, really hectic, and I really wish to bring Prof at this time, Prof Pelmos Mashabela. You've heard the opening remarks by the minister. You've heard the statements by UNODC. It does look like South Africa, especially young people in South Africa, have a huge problem on our plates where alcohol and cannabis is concerned. You have just been newly appointed as the new Central Drug Authority Committee. Congratulations to yourself and your team. Just want to throw it to you with everything that you have heard today as the implementers of the National Drug Master Plan. What are your thoughts?
Thank you. Thank you, Chair, for the kind words. We've just been indeed appointed as the 4th Central Drug Authority Board. And maybe before I really venture into this really profound conversation led by the young people, I just want to first appreciate the Department of Social Development led by the Minister Lindiwe Zulu, because I really want to believe that this responsibility is quite massive. If we all know that the issue around drug use and abuse and misuse is really a global pandemic. So for the young people to really brave themselves to come and provide this kind of a profound testimony is quite touching. So we're very grateful for that opportunity. Now, in terms of our thoughts as the CDA, first, I need to apologize that the actual chairperson of the new board, Ms. Nandi Manyatela Khoza, is not able to be with us. She would have really loved to be here because the area around youth is also one of her passion. But she then conveyed the sincerest appreciation for the CDA to be invited actually to give this input. It is also very touching, Program Director, that the young people are saying, we actually don't know that government at that level of the Central Drug Authority, facilitated within the Department of Social Development, is unknown to us. And remember, this is the young people, the 3rd largest population that we've got in the country. And therefore, it's very interesting that we should take that to heart and say if they don't know about what Central Drug Authority is all about, they surely don't know that government is available to assist them, wherever they need assistance. So it's quite an eye-opener as well from our side. So we want to welcome the young people to say there's something in government called Central Drug Authority, which develop really policy on drugs. But then that also goes to show, Chair, a facilitator, that policies are well crafted. The National Drug Master Plan is a wonderful, acknowledged, policy document that the young people are saying we don't see it on our ground. Because when we see alcohol, the way we get exposed to alcohol in our own communities, we don't hear anything about Central Drug Authority. So that is quite worrying in terms of policy implementation. So we want to welcome the young people to say perhaps they are going to move from here and start challenging the various authorities that exist within their communities as to what is it that you are doing to support the National Drug Master Plan. Because we want to encourage the young people to know this. In terms of the law of this country, every municipality, in other words, wherever they are, the 257 municipalities must have what is called the Local Drug Action Committee. It's the law. So we want them to go and ask in their own local municipalities, do we have a Local Drug Action Committee in our community? If not, I think we want to challenge them to start pushing the mayors, and the municipality managers to establish such a structure. That structure is meant to support them in days of needs like this one. The other response that we want to provide, Chair, is very encouraging, is that the young people are saying we all have a choice. It's very touching that the young people are the ones who are saying, look, I found myself in this situation, but I had a choice. So it is therefore important for us to start checking what is it that the educational sector is doing in terms of the life skills that they are offering as a curriculum within the school, which is part of the Central Drug Authority, in terms of how do you empower young people in terms of the choices that they are making. Because if indeed they have got a choice and they end up, taking this kind of a different kind of a choice, what then supposed to happen? So we want to encourage them to really look into the life skill curriculum that is provided for within the educational sector. The other issue that we want to respond to is what all of them are saying, that yes, it's easy for me to get into drugs, alcohol, cannabis, and all the other drugs, nicotine, but the biggest challenge is you can stop, but then what? Because then the challenge is the issues around aftercare. Who looks after us when we are now back in the community and we are clean? It's one thing for the guy to say, or a young person to say, I've been clean for a year now. But you must remember that the temptations are forever there. So we need to look at the ways in which we support them in terms of the aftercare services that should be available for all the young people, so that we don't end up just playing by the luck, but at least we know that there are structures that are meant to support them. The other issue is the exposure that they said in community. Alcohol is a legal drug. And I think with cannabis, there's a whole lot of misconception now, given the Constitutional Court judgment. We're not going to get into details about that. But the challenge here is that the exposure that the young people are in the communities of alcohol. I mean, we all know that in every community, these alcohol outlets are so readily available and there's accessibility. So we need to start checking with the local municipalities and indeed the provincial structures, because they are the ones who give licenses to this alcohol outlet to say, are they done in line with the policies to promote a situation where young people should not necessarily have access to alcohol or not? Because as things stand, we all know that access to alcohol, even by young people, is very easy. So issue of accessibility has to be looked into, because they said they get exposed as well. The other prominent issue that we are able to take back and for which we want to respond is around dysfunctional families. Young people here have been saying, I had this issue with my family. I want my family to love me. There's been challenges with family. So we need to look at perhaps the responsible departments, and I can already imagine that the Department of Social Development will have programs in that regard to really strengthen families, because with the dysfunctional families or with the challenges that families go through, you end up then getting easy access and become a target. But I think what needs to be questioned here, Chair, is these young people are users. Who makes money out of drugs? I think we need to start looking at that as well from a supply chain management point of view. Why is it that the profitability of the drug business is not being challenged as well? It's one thing for me to have access to alcohol, to have cannabis, because it's readily available. But there's an economy that we need to look into in terms of our supply reduction. So we need to really start looking at who are the main role players who are making these drugs so easily accessible and so addictive to the young people, because then it is that which can assist us in terms of prevention. And lastly, Chair, I think there are issues around public awareness. We really want to appreciate and congratulate the social development that on every year around this period, they really made efforts to create awareness, even among the young people, on what is it that they can do during this period. So we want to say to the young people, in every community where you are, you need to enforce your local municipality to create a local action committee so that they can participate there, because I think they said, we want a platform where we can engage. So the law forces municipalities to establish the local drug action committee. So we want them to start from there, because I think it is from there where they will be able to channel some of these positive messages that will then end up reaching the Central Drug Authority and create a very good working synergy between the policy and the implementation at the local level, because we know then they will be able to access government at that higher level when they participate in the local drug action committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Prof. You've touched really on very important points, and I think the message that we leave with today from the National Drug Authority is the importance of the establishment of local drug action committees. But young people also complain that if it is the very same structures or offices that are supposed to establish these opportunities do not, who then do they knock to? Maybe linked with that, you can just touch a bit on what is the footprint of the Central Drug Authority throughout the country, so that in the cases where young people are knocking on the doors that are unable to be opened on the other side, they have yourselves as reference.
Thank you very much. Yes, indeed, the footprint it's something still concerning, because we are aware that there are municipalities that do not have local drug action committees. So here we are pushing the young people to become activists, because they can also start those action committees. However, in an event that they really want to knock on the next door, every province is supposed to have what we call a Provincial Substance Abuse Forum. So in other words, every province is supposed to have some kind of a similar structure that sort of mirror the one that is at the local action committee level. Now, as things stand, we do have 8 Provincial Substance Abuse Forum, and there's one that is, I think awaiting a launch, which is the KZN. So we do have 8 in the whole province. So they are functional and they are available. Perhaps the question will then be, what happens if I'm not getting joy in any of those 3? And we are saying the National Department of Social Development has got the secretariat that is responsible for the Central Drug Authority, some of whom have been, I think, part of the organizing team here, and I think their details will be available. Those will be the people who can link them up with the Central Drug Authority. What is important, maybe just to tell the young people, is that within the Central Drug Authority, you've got all national departments. So in other words, you've got the police sitting there. You've got the Department of Trade and Industry sitting there. You've got the growers of cannabis sitting there. So you've got the Department of Justice sitting there. So at least in reaching out to the Central Drug Authority at the national level, you should be able to be talking to all government departments departments, and therefore at the national level we want them to come through the secretariat which is within the social development. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof. We wish to congratulate you and the team and really offer the best of luck for the work ahead. It's been very clear that young people are ready to hit the ground running, and the spirit that you've seen today of young people really having that confidence to come up and be able to share their journey is really reflecting that they don't want to see cannabis and alcohol destroying the rest of the South African youth population any further. We are going to cross over to the Acting Director General of the Department of Social Development, Mr. Linton Mkhunu. Mr. Linton, are you there? Good afternoon to you, sir.
Yes, good afternoon, program directors. Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. You have heard the speakers from the opening remarks of the minister, the UNODC. We've heard now from the board of the Central Drug Authority, and very touching testimonies from young people really sharing their journeys and also giving insight on how it is that they have ended up being service users, being addicted to drugs, and others taking a leap of faith and really using programs offered also by the Department of Social Development towards rehabilitation and care. What would your closing remarks and overall message to the young people and everyone tuned in to this webinar as we close off?
Well, thank you very much, Program Director, and all protocol observed in greeting everybody, the Minister, and everybody who's participating, and most importantly, the young people who have taken the courage to come out here and to speak about the impact of substance abuse and indeed alcohol abuse. I want to say that from the department side, we're extremely proud of you and indeed encouraged for the steps that you've taken in ensuring that you rid yourself of this challenge and the scourge of substance abuse and alcohol abuse. And your testimonies are really, really encouraging. And I'm very glad that a bulk of this program is young people in the main who are really sharing their stories so that other young people are able to relate with the challenges around substance abuse and drug abuse. So we want to thank you indeed. And I want to commend you for this wonderful testimonies that you've given. And I hope that other young people who are listening across the Republic would be able to take heed from your testimonies in this regard. So thanks very much again, Program Directors. The President recently indicated that COVID-19 is the first pandemic, gender-based violence is the second pandemic. And I have for a very long time been thinking about what could possibly be the third pandemic. And in my view, I've come to an understanding or a sense rather that substance abuse is certainly a third pandemic that is ravaging the country. And all of these attributed rather to social behavioral change. When we talk about social behavioral change, we talk about values, we talk about ethics, we talk about discipline, and so on. And so if we were to win this war around substance abuse and drug abuse, indeed, we're going to have to address the social behavioral change challenges aspect rather in our society. And the Minister spoke about this in her opening remarks. And this is a very important element which is largely started at the family unit level. So the message that is coming out this afternoon is very clear. There's simply no benefits to alcohol and substance abuse. It harms your body, it affects your family and your friends, it affects your behavior. You may end up stealing to satisfy your addiction. You may end up having or being part of criminal activities. It affects your attitude. It tarnishes your image and your reputation. You are not trusted by society any longer, by your family, by your friends, and not many people want to associate with you. it also regresses you in life instead of progressing your life. And it invites negativity, as the young man from Limpopo indicated earlier. So it must really concern us, program directors, that drugs and substance abuse, drugs in the main, is so easily available. And it's possibly something that will have a very hard time to change, because people are always creating and finding new and innovative ways of moving drugs. And of course, earlier we heard about a number of reasons as to why we have the challenges that we have, particularly affecting young people, including interpersonal and environmental factors that have been spoken to. But we as a government must indeed strengthen our fight against the rising levels of drug and substance abuse, drug and alcohol abuse, through preventative programs about the harmful effects of drugs, alcohol abuse, especially for young people. And of course, we have a number of treatment centers across the Republic. You recall that the president actually opened a treatment center not so long ago in the Free State province in April earlier this year. We do offer educational programs and aftercare facilities and life skill programs and parental programs and so on and so forth. But the reality is that we as government alone cannot fight this challenge. It requires a societal response. It requires business, civil society, and indeed government to work together in creating joint efforts to address the challenge that we face around substance and drug abuse. And so we as a department continue and commit to continue funding and supporting NGOs in particular who are active in the space in trying to get young people and those who may be addicted to substance abuse as well as alcohol to try and get them out of the challenges that they face. So we must continue to spread the message in our schools, in churches, in our homes, in terms of our family units, at our sports clubs, at work environments, community forums, and so on and so forth. It becomes critical and indeed important that we spread this message of the effects and impact, a negative impact of substance abuse and indeed alcohol abuse. So I want to speak to, very briefly, those who may be struggling with substance abuse at this point in time, who may be watching from across. And I want to say and leave you with a message. I want to say to you that it's time to act now. And act now for me is simply action changes things. And now is no other way. If you act now, you are guaranteed that your life will change and become a lot better. So we want to encourage you to take action and make the change. And connect to people who have defeated this pandemic. And of course, there's a lot of young people even on the show, the engagement today, who have come across very positively, who rather have defeated the pandemic. And these are young people across the country who are able to assist you in getting through the challenges that you face in order to change your life. So that's important. But I want to also leave you, and rather I want to challenge other young people to do about 3 things today. First is to become ambassadors and change agents in your areas, in your schools, in your homes, in your communities. And secondly is to become vocal and to share the truths about the impact of substance abuse, especially to young people. And of course, using empirical evidence and empirical research to prove and to highlight the impacts as indicated by our colleague from the United Nations. But lastly is to encourage others to position their lives for a much better future and to take hold of the opportunities to make a positive impact for their families, for their friends, and for their communities. And the minister earlier spoke about the importance of getting hold of these opportunities created both by government, by the private sector, and civil society. And these are opportunities to enhance one's life and to better your life and to better, so that you are able to better your family's life and your children's life and your children's life. So we want you to grab hold of these opportunities that are available, the positive opportunities that are able to change your life towards the better. And somebody said, I read a quote the other day, and somebody said that opportunities of a lifetime must be seized in the lifetime of the opportunity. And simply put, the opportunity that is presented to young people must be seized within the space in which they are presented. You may not get the same opportunities that are presented to you again in the future. So whilst you have it, take hold of those opportunities and improve your life and make yourself and leave a legacy behind, a positive legacy for others to follow through. So I think I would leave it at that. Thank you very much once again for this very important webinar. And we want to again thank the young people who have been part and parcel of this webinar and for your very good stories and testimonials that you've shared. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, commemorating International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking today, a virtual drug abuse and a cannabis dialogue there. The National Department of Social Development says substance abuse is it's a national challenge which affects young people, especially the abuse of alcohol and cannabis. And it is in this context that the focus for this year's Youth Month debate will be on how alcohol, cannabis and other drugs impact on young people. That's according to the Social Development Department. It's being observed under the theme, the international theme, Share Facts on Drugs Save Lives. This global theme really emphasizes the importance of awareness of the facts on drugs and their associated dangers, evidence-based prevention, treatment and care. So that's a very, very important topic indeed. That's why we stayed on it for that length of time. All right.